Come back to She Can, where women lead by example by telling their stories of how they got to where they are today. Because it's easier to be what you can see. And I'm really excited to talk to Anna Bailey today. Anna, you're the founder of Palitalk, which is a platform dedicated to advancing the careers of women working as executive assistants and virtual assistants. It's a female assistant and job boards hub. Tell us a bit more. You launched last March. It means you're still in a total startup phase because that's nothing in the history of company making. Tell us a bit more about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Thank you for having me on your show. For some background on me, I was an EA for a family office before getting married, and it was sort of a 24/7 role. I then got married, moved back home, and became a VA. I was fully virtual, living at home, and it was a sort of world that I didn't really know existed. And even in sort of COVID, we were traveling into the office before. So when I went fully virtual, I'd missed the sort of COVID working from home element that everyone had. And I just absolutely loved it. I don't know if it's because I'd gone from an intense full-time in the office job to being at home, but anyway, it suited me. I then realized the importance of having flexible working options as a woman, especially when I got pregnant, and then you have endless appointments, endless sort of things you have to leave the desk to do, which inspired me to start Palitalk. So we launched back in March last year. And it's a platform with female assistants looking for sort of flexible working options and a community around them to support them in their career.
Anna, tell us, first of all, congratulations. Brilliant. Tell us a little bit where you are at now. So how do you feel the last year went? You launched. How did it go? How did you market it? How did you tell us a little bit more about these details that are really important when you launch a business?
So I came up with the idea in December, and I thought initially I had to get the name, the sort of website, the LinkedIn page, everything up and running so I could
Yeah.
start I could start spreading the word. And I did about 3 or 4 weeks of it as it was called Connect Me with a three as the E. And I spoke to a branding agency in about January, and they were like, "You have to change your name." And I was like, but I've set everything up. I've bought the website, bought the email domain, and they just said no one will find you with a number in your name. It makes it really difficult. It's obviously it can work, but early doors it just makes it more difficult.
Yeah.
Then I went away and started the Palitalk branding, had it all sort of rebranded. The website was in development and then was launched in March. But in the meantime, I had started spreading the word on LinkedIn. And I think for a platform like Palitalk, LinkedIn has been incredible for networking.
Yeah.
And it was just a case of, hi, I'm launching Palitalk. It should be launched in March. I'd love you to sign up to show interest and follow our story. And I had about 270 signups before the website launched. So it just helped
Wow.
it sort of take off when it was live. So then we had instant signups. And then I suppose once you've got the first, in my case, members, the first 40, 50 members, the ball starts rolling, and then it just fills you with a bit more confidence. You can start to get your testimonials, you can start to get feedback from the members. And then it helps with further marketing it on. It's all been a LinkedIn marketing project. And actually,
Brilliant.
I didn't really use LinkedIn before I started it. So I've sort of had to learn how all the sales navigator works, the different sort of areas that you can use and add to your membership. And so I've marketed it on LinkedIn. Instagram's been quite a slow burn, I think, just because it's not really the world for the assistants and jobs and careers, etc. And then this last year has been chaotic. I had a baby in May. So I had,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. So I had sort of the aftermath of that, not necessarily baby wise, but when you're getting your brain back into straight working mode. So I think this year's been quite overwhelming. I think I should be proud of the progress that we've had, but I think now is the time when I can sort of look back and actually make a plan, because this year's sort of been like running too quickly on a treadmill and not being able to sort of find my balance. But I think this year is going to be a really nice one for Pally Talks. We can make more focuses and be more specific of where we put our time and effort. But yeah, this year's been I think the first year is always quite intense because it's like worrying, it's exciting, it's everything all together.
It is, Anna, and I think, and then you bring a baby into the mix, and then of
Mm.
course, things don't always exactly go as planned, but that doesn't mean that you're not on track.
Mm.
Anna, so tell us a little bit your takeaways a year in. What do you feel were your or are your biggest lessons?
Um, Probably I still haven't learned this lesson, but time management.
Mm,
I think there are so many hours in the day, but there's so many hours when you're productive, and I still need to learn how and when those hours are in my working day. And I suppose when I'm in those hours of focus, how best to sort of get the to-do lists that need to be done.
mm,
And I think I'm finding the 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. window really good for sort of admin to-do lists. I don't know, in the daytime, I struggle to get that focus period done. And then at the 2 hours after, I don't know if it's because it's sort of, well, it is dark now, but in the summer it won't be, so it'll be distracting. But it's dark, it's quiet. I can put some music on and I just sort of get those 2 hours. But I think that's been a really like big takeaway, I think, because when you're in a 9 to 5 and you're employed, your day is sort of structured by priorities without any white noise. But when it's your
mm.
business, there's a lot of sort of do this, do this, do this, do this. And it's quite hard to sort of shut up the noise and focus. So that's been a big takeaway. And secondly is probably just to use the network that you have and sort of lean on people who might know people and find assistance through assistance and find people looking for assistance through people who have hired through you and just connecting with as many people as many people as possible, really. And I think Zoom, even though it's not as effective as meeting in person, it's still incredible. You can talk to
It
people
is.
in America, and like America's a big one because obviously the time change is so significant, but also Australia, I connected with someone in Australia, and like without that, you wouldn't be able to have this network that's
Yeah.
just global. But that's been a really big one, the use of Zoom.
Yeah, yeah, that's revolutionized what we do at She Can
Yeah.
100%. Anna, so tell us a little bit what really matters to you and what services do you offer now and where do you want to go?
So, in terms of Pally Talk,
Yeah.
so at the moment we've got our community. We're just over 2,700 members. We've got the community. A lot of assistants have time on their hands to find new clients and find new assistant roles. And so my aim is to find them more work, whether it be full-time, part-time, temporary, but mainly all remote and flexible working options. Hybrid's actually a really good one because everyone's trying to
Mm.
drag people back into the office. If they can just offer a hybrid alternative, it's really popular. So it's to find more work for them and build the community side. So bring in assistants, whether they're based wherever in the UK, wherever in America, wherever in Dubai or whatever city they're in. If they're isolated and feeling alone, just sort of welcome them into the community of assistants where as long as you ideally speak the same language, you can always relate to another assistant because your job is it's sort of it's the same whatever country you're in, whatever client you
Mm.
run into the same battles, you have the same daily tasks, etc.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's to build the community. And the virtual events we're hosting has been a really good one to begin with. We only launched them a couple of weeks ago. But it just means people can chat, they can ask questions, they can say, I'm really stuck with this. Am I getting paid enough? Is this a fair situation, etc. And it's just so the community and the jobs are going to be a big focus to get people back in money earning roles and yeah, just find other females where they can turn to if they are getting stuck.
And are these sort of branded events or they're just open Q&As? How do you envision that going forward?
The we've done a virtual co-working, so that's you say hi, you introduce yourself, you then do a 40-minute, 45-minute hard work. But you've got your laptop open, your camera's off, your audio's off. But for some reason you still think you're being watched. So you tend to work you tend to work really hard. And I got off it being like that was probably the most productive morning I've had. So you have a 45 minute, then you go back for a 15-minute breakout and chat. And what did you work? What did you work on? Are you struggling with anything? Um, then you go back in. So you do that 3 times, and then we have a guest speaker. So that's how the virtual co-working works. We're doing a virtual networking where you'll have Zoom breakouts. So you can
Mm,
break out into a pair, introduce yourself, see what you're working on, see
brilliant.
how you can sort of network and help each other. And
Yeah,
then
brilliant.
we've got some sort of coaching sessions too for people to log in and sort of work on themselves and their confidence and how that can help them when interviewing, etc. So they're all different formats, but there's loads on offer.
Anna, and do you feel that people, virtual assistants, people working from home, do you feel there is an element of loneliness, or do you feel this is really the nirvana because you cut out your own time and you do it in your own time and you're the boss, you decide?
I don't think they're lonely because they're working from home necessarily. I think they're lonely because being an assistant's quite like a lonely role. You
Mm,
work for let's say you've got 3 partners, or you work for your one boss, or you work for your one private family. You don't tend to have, there's sometimes a group of assistants and you work together, but most of the time you work for one boss or one family on your own. And it's not a role where you can turn to your colleague and have a quick chat over a coffee or
yeah.
ring them and say, oh, have you seen the spreadsheet? I can't do so and so because you're the only assistant. So I think it's lonely in that sense. And that's why we've had so many assistants sort of interested in Pally Talk because they
Mm,
haven't got that team, even if they're within a massive company, they may sit on their own with their boss or may just feel like they can't turn to a team member as such.
yeah,
Um,
it makes
yeah.
total sense to me now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anna, so what tips would you give to a fellow woman who is just setting up her business now, whatever that may be? What do you feel are your biggest tips a year in?
Um, It's really hard to say because everyone's situation's like so different. But I would say, firstly, just go for it. Start small. Test the waters, even if it's just an Instagram page or a LinkedIn page. There's so many sort of free platforms where you could just test it and just see if you can get feedback from people. Just what do you think of this? What do you think of this? WhatsApp polls, if you're in WhatsApp groups, just see what people think. But I think put your idea onto paper and then just start small, just start the process. Because I think if you overthink it and overthink it and overthink it, you'll find yourself a year down the line and you haven't sort of, I don't know, made the LinkedIn page, for example. But I think just go for it to begin with.
Anna, and what do you feel are your biggest challenges? I know time management, you
Mm.
mentioned that. What other challenges do you feel you face, and how do you reframe them and move forwards?
Um, I think at the moment specifically, and someone said it to me on a Zoom the other day, that I should stop chasing um, perfection because it's
Mm,
really, as a business starter, I can get too set on one thing, whether it be the way a Canva thing looks that's going to be on the front of something I'm creating. And I think I need to lose that sort of. It's really hard because it's your baby, isn't it? And you create something that's your passion. But I need to just like let my guard down a bit and just be like, if that doesn't look perfect, it's fine.
yeah.
If there's a spelling typo, that's fine.
Mm,
If that didn't go out on Tuesday, it went out on Wednesday, that's fine. And I think that potentially will then help when I look to hire someone because I won't have that like tensely controlled perfection. And once I drop that, then I think everything gets better. But I think again, that's a really hard challenge to come to terms with. But I think once you've gone past that, then it's just sort of you can we have so much more time to do other things.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's, and then you're more in the flow. And actually, if you need to pivot, you can pivot.
Mm,
When you live with this perfectly imperfect scenario, things just flow easier.
Mm.
Um, Anna, what do you feel, in your perfect world, where do you want to get to with Pally Talk? What's your really big vision? How many members are you striving for? Uh, give us some of that, really the thing that you dream about.
Ooh, probably I had set a target of 10,000 by the end of this year, 10,000 members. I don't know if that's going to be sort of too pushed. But I mean, if we get there organically, we get there. But I'm not going to sort of push the membership sign up. What I really want to create is somewhere where assistants wake up in the morning, whether they work in an office, at home, remote, however their situation is. They can log in, they can say, sort of, morning, everyone. I'm working in London today if anyone wants to grab a coffee, or it's halfway through the day and they're like, I don't know how to do this. I'm on my own. This is really hard. I'm 2 weeks into a new job. They can post on the group saying, really need a contact to help me with so and so. And they just use Pally Talk as their sort of one board where they can get everything from company recommendations to help from another colleague or whatever it may be. And then hopefully it will allow people to enter the industry easier. So returning mums to work can go to a community where they can say, how can I enter this industry? Can someone help me find some work? And yeah, just have it as a community of women who all have the same goals and support one another. And I think by the end of this year, if that's 10,000, it's incredible. But if it's 4,000, but it's become like a really tight-knit group, then that's really the goal. And then 2, 3 years ahead of time, I have no idea, but hopefully just a bigger version of that.
Anna, I love when you talk, because it really makes a lot of sense, and it underpins all the important thing that we women have to support each other. And we
Mm,
often don't do that, and we feel the air gets too thin up there, when in reality there is room for all of us. So I love
mm.
what you do. My last question, Anna, is sort of a different question, but I think it always shows a lot what people really, summing up what they're here for, and that's, what would you want our listeners to take away from your story?
Mainly probably to support one another in your career, in your personal life. If people message you saying, can you help me with this or whatever it may be, just try and help someone out, whether it's something really mundane like I need some ketchup collecting for my dinner party. Can you get it en route? And I think just things like support one another. I think there's not a rise in sort of the selfish career path, but I think people can forget how the small things matter so much to each other. And I see it on our WhatsApp group a lot. It's simple things like, I can't attach something in an email, and it takes someone who knows 2 minutes just to reply. And I just think those sort of things, just as a takeaway, just sort of look after one another and help each other when yeah, they're in need of some support.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna, for telling your story today, for talking to us about Pali Talk. And we would like to encourage everyone who's listening and is looking for this sort of work to look up Pali Talk and Anna.
Thank you for having me.